Hey, everybody. Welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll. I'm the reporter, editor, et cetera, of valleyindy.org, an online newspaper covering Ansonia, Seymour, and Derby in Connecticut's lower Naugatuck Valley. So, doing something different this year. I'm interviewing ward candidates or alderman candidates from the various wards in the city of Ansonia. And if you see like my kids running around in the background, that's why I just got distracted. I apologize in advance. So this is the second interview I'm doing, and this one is for Ward 1. It's the two Democrats running for Ward 1 in the city of Ansonia. And I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Maybe we'll start with Gary there.
All right, thanks for having us, Eugene. So my name is Gary Farrar, running in the first ward for Aldermen on the Democratic ticket. Been a resident of Ansonia for a little over 6 years now. I live over in the first ward over on Cathy Lane. Went to Southern Connecticut State University, where I majored in political science with international relations and urban politics as my concentrations, with a minor in American history and 20th century European history. So a lot to say, but right now, I'm currently working as the office administrator for Milford Animal Control for the city of Milford. I'm a volunteer firefighter here in Ansonia, working on helping to revitalize the Opera House here in Ansonia. A lot of people actually are not aware that we have an Opera House here, but working on revitalizing that, getting that kind of brought up to date. So hopefully we can get some things going on in there to look a little nice on the outside as well. Again, running for alderman with John over here, just looking to represent the people of the first ward and just get people's voices on the board of aldermen.
All right, great. Now, John, go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewing audience, please.
Thank you, Eugene. John Feddern. I've been an Ansonia resident / homeowner for 18 years, almost 19. So I've been here a while. It's kind of become my second home. I was raised in New York City in Queens, went to New York City public schools, graduated from there, went to college at a very small college, which used to be Virginia Wesleyan College, which is now Virginia Wesleyan University. Graduated from there and, basically met my future wife there in college. We have a child. She is now 25 years old and she grows very quickly. Teaching now in New Jersey at a public school down there in the city of Newark. For the past 18 years, I've lived here. I've raised a family here. Really have embraced Ansonia as my home. This is my first time running for anything, anywhere. And I just felt like it was the right time to kind of get my feet wet here. I see it as public service more than anything else, being an alderman. In many respects, it's a volunteer position, so the way I see it, I've lived in the same house for 18 years in the North End in the first ward. And I really just want to be a good representative for the people there in that area that I've come to really know and really love.
Okay. And then, that was a follow-up question, because I don't know, there's so many wards in Ansonia, and I don't know like what specific neighborhoods or general areas they cover. So Gary, can you explain to me what the first ward encompasses?
So a lot of times it can get confusing because you have some streets that one side of it might be first ward and the other side might be a second ward. For example, Woodbridge Ave. The general way of looking at it is if you're going down Woodbridge Ave towards Beaverbrook from the left all the way over to the river, that's pretty much first ward. So North Main Street going towards the Seymour line, Woodbridge Ave, Rockwood Ave, Granite Terrace, Hubble Ave. That's all first ward over there.
Okay, gotcha. And John, I just want to come back and ask you two follow-ups to your little intro that you just did. First of all, what part of Queens are you from?
I was raised in Glendale, and my parents still live there, but they moved to Forest Hills when I was 18. So I'm there often enough visiting them. And, honestly, I love to just go into the city sometimes. COVID kind of put a kibosh on that for a while, but always enjoy going back there. Just actually went there to see the Banksy exhibit that's out there.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, it is home, and this is home too. You can have two homes, So that's where I grew up. I am a let me get a shout out. Let's go Mets. I am a Met fan, so I need to do that on this interview.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good. Oh, you
I got
probably
a
just lost 25% of the electorate there.
I
You got to
know.
be
I
careful.
fear doing that. Yeah, I've run into a couple out there, but it doesn't. You know what? I have no ill will towards really any other teams except for the Braves, and there are really no Braves fans out here. So I think I'm okay. So.
And then, John, you had said you're a teacher in Newark.
My daughter is a teacher in Newark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, then I misheard.
Yes.
I was going to say that is a commute, sir.
That's a long commute. Yeah. Well, I used to commute to Norwalk back in the day. That was long enough. No, I am actually a marketing executive. I'm technically an independent contractor. So I am a small business owner. I have to file 1099s and pay, taxes quarterly and such. So, I kind of have that perspective too. Never used to be that way. That was about 3.5 years ago. Prior to that, I did work in Norwalk as an employee, a full-time employee at a fairly decent sized advertising agency out of Norwalk. They closed their doors and I moved on, and now I'm doing what I'm doing just for somebody else. So really, that's where I've gotten a lot of my chops. Oh, I did want to give a shout out to the journalism profession. I figured you'd enjoy this, Eugene. My major was communications with a concentration in journalism. So
sorry.
Get some. Yeah, I know. You see that road didn't lead to where I thought it was going to lead.
That was mine too. How about community involvement, John? Community involvement. Are you involved in any civic groups or trade organizations or anything like that?
Well, not right now. I wouldn't say. I mean, I am a member of the DTC. I wouldn't call that a civic group. That's a political organization. Prior to that, I drove for Meals on Wheels for about 1.5 years. I did that concurrent with my other job. I did have some extra time there, let's say, to do that, and it was incredibly rewarding. So. I've personally had a lot of interaction with the senior community, not only just out and about delivering meals to them, but my wife and I are currently conservators for my mother-in-law who has very severe dementia. So we have to administer to her needs. She lives in Derby and has 24-hour care, but even so, I mean that's a pretty large undertaking, to navigate that and navigate with the state. So I'm hoping maybe to bring some of that kind of insider expertise to anybody in the area who needs guidance for that type of stuff, or guidance towards team for Meals on Wheels. I work there. So I think that kind of would really come in handy for a lot of the things that I'm hearing as I canvass.
And then I'm going to throw this question to Gary, and then I'm going to come back and ask John the same question. But Gary, what motivated you to run for the Board of Aldermen this go around?
I mean, I've always been interested in politics. I think my major, when I went to school for political science, kind of shows that there is an interest there. I think that one of the main reasons why I decided to run was I just feel like there's not enough representation for just everybody in town. I think we need to see the Board of Aldermen more reflect the community that we live in. And you hear a lot of people in the first ward where me and John, have been talking to people and walking, and, even just from talking to neighbors, and a lot of people say, well, I don't even know who my aldermen are, or, I've got these concerns. I feel like people aren't really hearing. So it just kind of musters up the courage or the initiative to, put your name in the race and hope to get elected and kind of help your neighbors out. And because when it comes to local politics, all it is you're helping your neighbors out. It's not like state or federal where you get elected and how often do you really see the people you're supposed to be representing. There's good things that are going on in Ansonia, so I just want to contribute to that. I think me and John we both say that we have a lot of fresh ideas, new insights on things to help kind of just contribute to what's going on. And just continue to move forward with the progress that we're seeing in Ansonia.
And John, what motivated you to run?
Funny story. I actually had no intention of running this year. I had joined the DTC back in January or February. Definitely wanted to help contribute, my time to the DTC. I've helped Cara Rochelle, our state rep, before on some of her campaigns. And then, when we got to nomination night, there was a surprise opening in the first ward. And I basically talked to my wife and she said, go for it. So I decided to go for it at that point. So it was a little bit kind of like people have surprise pregnancies. This was kind of like a surprise thing for me too, but I am embracing it. I really, I guess I'm a casual student of politics. So I do have a pretty good sense of the national scene and the state scene. And I am getting a quick education on the local scene as well. To Gary's point before, it's funny. He said, we go and we talk to people. They say, who are our aldermen? A lot of the questions that we get to are, what is an alderman? I mean, there's a lot of awareness that needs to be built as to, what an alderman is, because it's kind of older terminology. I think if the city of Ansonia had a city council, it'd probably be a little bit better understood what we do. So there's a lot of education that goes on out there too, let alone, electioneering, which is great for me. The more we can inform people about how their government works, how decisions are made and what's going on, that's all the better. That makes it even that much more worth it for us.
And then Gary, in the bigger picture here, you're also the chairman of the Ansonia Town Democratic Committee, right? Did I get that title? And I always mess up that phrase, but that's right?
Yeah. Yes.
Democratic Town Committee.
ADTC. There you go.
That's going to confuse me more.
I'm
Thank you
sorry,
for trying.
I tried, yes.
But this year, the Democrats did not put up a candidate against Mayor Cassetti. And Mayor Cassetti and Mayor Cassetti specifically has dominated his last couple of contests. So what was the decision behind not putting up a mayoral candidate this year?
So, a lot of it was kind of a collective thought. When it comes down to it, Mr. Cassetti is a popular individual. He's doing good things in the town. No one can deny that. You got to give credit where credit is due. This isn't the first time a political party in Ansonia has not fielded a mayoral candidate. Back when Del Volpe was mayor, the Republicans didn't field a candidate for one of the elections. Now it's our turn. We figure that, there's no sense in running, a not strong candidate, I guess you can say, to run against Mr. Cassetti when we know the popularity for him is there, where, our biggest goal right now is to focus on the Board of Aldermen. Aldermen are a checks and balance for local politics, much like the Congress is a checks and balance on the president. It's vital that the Board of Aldermen represents our city. We need to have a fair representation of everybody in the city on there, and it can't be, one-sided, because then nothing happens. You don't get the checks. It becomes a rubber stamp type of situation. And, kind of go back to what I was talking about earlier about the stagnated thought process. You want to have new ideas moving through. You want to have fresh thought processes, different perspectives of the situation that may come up. Someone might be on the Board of Aldermen for a few terms and they may not, they kind of get to that mentality like, this is how we always do things, but there might be new ideas. Me and my running John here, we, neither of us are Board of Aldermen members. So we're coming in this with fresh thoughts, fresh perspective. And that's really where the DTC wanted to focus. We have 3 seats right now. We had 4 on election night, and then it came down to 3 when Tarek Raslin had to step down because he was moving.
Right.
So our focus is to continue with the representation that we have, add more representation on there, and just pretty much just create that balance between the Board of Aldermen and the mayor's office.
And then, John, what are some of your issues? Like when you're talking or going door to door, are there any particular issues that you're bringing to the potential voters?
It's actually more the voters are bringing issues to me and Gary. For an example, there seems to be a gap, and I've heard this a number of times. There seems to be a gap in activities for teens in the area, and I've heard that at least 3, if not 4 times, to where it feels like unless you're going to participate in sports, there's really nothing there, or very little there, let's say, for the 12 to 17-year-olds, which is really and I remember being a teenager. Those are vital years. Those are when you're going to be making either very good choices or very bad choices, and could direct the rest of your life as to what those choices are. So if I'm elected, that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to try to get funding for, is more activities for teens. There are activities for children as well, but there's more of those than I think we have this gap. Okay, and we're kind of forgetting that age group in terms of how we serve our families. You know, anything that we can do to help a family, as long as, you know, it's something that is cost effective, which I would imagine that something for teens would not be that expensive, is something that we should be doing. That helps in the long run. It helps with education. You know, there's so many things little things like that, these little tangential things like an after school program, for example, can really help a kid make a very good or very bad decision in their life. I would say that's the big, besides what is an alderman, that is probably the biggest thing.
That's what you're
I'm
hearing.
hearing out there. Yeah, yeah.
And Gary, what about you? Are there any particular issues that you're pressing with people?
It's one of the biggest things, you know, John can echo that as well. I mean, it's the community involvement. You know, talking about like the no programs for certain age kids and just getting the community out there. I know crime is a big situation, especially on the north end. That you know, a lot of people have voiced to us too, which, you know, me and John have also talked about with each other, that we just feel like there's not a lot of concern, I guess you can say, about like the North Main Street area. I mean, we saw Wakely Ave get renovated. We see things going on downtown. We'd really love to see some type of initiative and projects in the North End. It's a main thoroughway right into the heart of our city. The bus line, and a lot of people see that they feel like they're being neglected. And, you know, some people have even said to us when we're door knocking that it seems like more people care about the Hilltop area and other areas of town and seem to forget about the North End a lot of times. And, you know, it's one of those issues that, you know, you take to heart because you live here and you want to see this area better than what it is now. And you want to see the Ansonia, you know, move forward together and not piece by piece. So, you know, that's a key thing that we're trying to fight for on that, and that we hear from people.
Okay, well, those are all my questions, gentlemen. Let me just ask if there's anything either of you want to address that I haven't brought up. John or Gary?
I mean, this has been a great interview. Really, I think
Thanks.
you really nailed it on. You really nailed it on. I'm repping for the journalism guys, Eugene. Come on now. You know, I do feel, to echo Gary's point, I've been there 18 years. Okay, same house on Hubble Avenue, and this goes back way before Mayor Cassetti took over. Okay, it does seem like kind of in my opinion, the forgotten ward, the forgotten area. You know, we have a lot of old brownstones over there. We have Farrar, we have Ansonia brass and copper, and I know those have been a thorn in the side of the city for years/decades. Okay. I would love to see the revitalization of that area. I think that would be a tremendous win for the city, because to Gary's point, it is one of the major thoroughfares. You know, Main Street and Wakely and Pershing always get kind of the notoriety, but North Main is the main thoroughfare between us and Seymour, or one of them, if you don't hop on Route 8. So I think it would be a boon for the city to really concentrate in this area that I live in, that Gary lives in. It would really make our area feel a little bit more like it's part of Ansonia, because I feel like there's a little bit of a divide there in terms of how people feel living there and the perception of it. That's another thing, is the perception. So.
Okay. And then where can people who watch this find out more about either the entire party or the slate or yourselves as candidates? Where should people go?
So we have a website, AnsoniaDemocrats.com. Me and John also have personal Facebook pages. If you Google, if you Facebook search our name, Ansonia Aldermen, and hopefully Facebook's not down when you're trying to do it. Also, the Ansonia Democrats Facebook page also has information as well. Also, our headquarters is right down over on Main Street, 150 Main Street over there. So, I mean, you know, anytime that we're open, people can come in, get some literature, or, you know, otherwise, you know, when we see you door knocking or around at an event here in the city. We do have an event coming up over at Copper City on October 19th, which will be down there too. So if people want to come down, they can introduce themselves, talk to us, and voice any concerns and ask us any questions that they may have.
All right, John and Gary, I want to thank you both so much for doing this. I enjoyed it. I feel like I learned a lot just from this quick conversation, so I really appreciate it.
It was
Thanks.
definitely fun. It's always a joy with you, Eugene.
All right, thank you.